Hello, it is Social Media Saturday, August 24th. Steve Sipress here, and once again, I am in my library, in front of my bookcases filled with books and courses, and of course, lots of rhinos as well. Now, it is a beautiful day out today here in the Phoenix area. Right now, as we speak, as I speak, there is a fantastic sunset going on in my backyard, and normally that's where I would be, with the sunset in the background. But, ever since earlier this week, I heard the earth-shattering, shocking, sad, horrible news that Dan Kennedy has transferred out of the hospital and into hospice. I have felt, I was going to say for some reason, but I know the reason, of course. I have felt a ton more comfort being here in my library, in front of my bookshelf, specifically this one of the shelves that is end-to-end covered with books by Dan Kennedy. And there are two more shelves, and these books are covered in books and courses and conference materials, newsletters, CDs, DVDs, books by Dan Kennedy, books talking about Dan Kennedy, books by Dan Kennedy's students like me, who have gotten so much from Dan. And I'm not just talking about strategy, tactics. I'm talking about how to live life the right way. And we have gone on to have a rippling effect that help others with our materials. And so I just feel a ton of comfort these days, as much as I can muster, from being here in this library, surrounded by what, to me, I told myself I would get through this video again and cut it out. It's as much as surrounded by Dan as I can be these days. However, I, for one, I'm not giving up at all, and am still praying and hoping for a miracle that once again I do get to see Dan in person, talk to him, hear his voice, and that'll be a zillion, bazillion, batrillion times better. Rick's here, Alan's here, a bunch of people here. Thanks for being here. So let's get to it. Social Media Saturday, and this is an important lesson in social media, courtesy of Dan Kennedy, even though it's extremely well known. Dan Kennedy famously does not own a cell phone, does not use email, does not use social media. Now, that doesn't mean, Dan has helped many, many, many entrepreneurs make tons and tons and tons of money and help tons and tons of people via the internet. So he doesn't have to use it himself to help others to make money with it. Of course not. However, Dan himself staunchly, stubbornly still refuses, as far as I know, to use social media. So you might be thinking, well, what is this with a lesson in social media from Dan Kennedy? First of all, like I just said, he still teaches lessons in social media. If you've heard any names like Frank Kern, Russell Brunson, Ryan Dice, on and on, people would say, well, we are internet marketers. And they would be and will be and probably are the first ones to tell you that practically every thought and idea and strategy came into their head either came directly from Dan Kennedy in a one-on-one, a private and or a group coaching session with Dan Kennedy, and or as a derivative of studying and learning from and understanding Dan Kennedy concepts and then applied to the internet. However, and by the way, I had an enjoyable day today because I spent the day in an introductory all-day seminar from 9 to 5 teaching business owners who knew nothing about direct response marketing, introducing them to the wonderful, fantastic world of what Dan always liked to call Dan Kennedy-style marketing, direct response marketing. And, now that I think, Dan always said, when I was one of the Dan Kennedy advisors, he would always say, need more people converting the virgins. Converting the virgins. Now that, I believe, is a biblical type of reference. Dan's father being a pastor, and I believe that's, converting. It's kind of a religious, believer type of thing. And converting the virgins, meaning he would say, everyone's like doing affiliate marketing and let me speak in front of the audience of people that are already at Ryan Dice's events. They already understand the power of direct response marketing. Or let me get an email out, let Frank Kern send an email to his list about my thing. Well, that's, again, offering and selling your product or service to people that already understand the power of direct response marketing. He said, we need more people converting the versions. And I always took that as my marching orders to do what's much more difficult, however, therefore much more rewarding. And maybe it sounds sappy, but to me, much more rewarding just because I hear and feel Dan's voice in my head saying we need more people converting the versions. So instead of just selling to the same audience over and over a new product or service, I take a lot of pride in introducing effective marketing and advertising and sales strategies and concepts, in other words, Dan Kennedy style or direct response marketing, to business owners that really don't know anything about it. And that's what I did today, and how enjoyable was that. Light bulbs were going off, and maybe they will now go on to read books by Dan Kennedy, and Dan Kennedy students and others, and folks that Dan Kennedy recommends, the greats and the classics. They might get a course. They might hire a direct response copywriter. They might change their website from a piece of crap to a direct response website, and their anything else, their business cards, their brochures, their websites, their social media, start using direct response. And even if they never let me know or thank me or anything, like, I feel a little pride that I had a little part in that, and I feel that I was commanded by Dan Kennedy that that's what we need more people doing. So had a fantastic day, and Dan's ears must be burning because his name came up at least 497 bazillion times today, because of course just about every concept, strategy, tactic I was teaching today comes in one way or another from Dan Kennedy, or was added on to by Dan Kennedy, or had something to do with Dan Kennedy. And yeah, I was going to say, like, it's not like, I taught everything I knew from Dan Kennedy. That would take years. You can't do that in one day. I could only minusculely scratch the surface of the surface of the surface of all I have learned and still have to learn from Dan Kennedy, because we're all leaving this earth someday, and yet Dan's legacy will continue to live on in my mind forever, from the books, the courses, the newsletters, the CDs, the materials, the tapes, the cassettes, the everything there is, and then he'll live through me, as I just said, teaching his stuff to others, and on and on. And so, of course, I couldn't teach 1/billionth of Dan's strategies and tactics, but I scratched the surface and got a couple of light bulbs going off today. And so fantastic day. And I just felt like today, I do these events, and I do the converting of the virgins and opening the eyes and getting the light bulbs going off all the time. But I really felt it today, maybe more than ever, that is a mission that I have, to carry on the tradition, as Dan taught me, that I teach it to others. People that know me know my mom was a school teacher, and my mom would drill it into us when we were kids all the time. You have an obligation, she would say, you have an obligation that when you learn something, you teach it to someone else. And so that's what I'm talking about. I learned a whole ton from Dan Kennedy, and I make it life's mission to teach those kind of strategies and tactics and concepts to small business owners, entrepreneurs, to help people have more fun, make more money, have less stress. Because to me, that's what owning a business should be all about. Not what it is in reality for most people, which is being overworked, underpaid, overstressed, and not knowing what to do, and being confused and overwhelmed. And I enjoy having a little role, whatever I can do, to solve those kind of issues. And Alan says, it's a channel. DK builds a message that works on any channel. Absolutely correct. Social media actually is many, many channels. You can have a YouTube channel, you can have a Twitter, you can have a Pinterest, you can have an Instagram, a Facebook, a blog, an email, or whatever it is. You can do lots of stuff online. They're all different ways, channels, media, whatever you want to call it. And of course, Dan's concepts and strategies and tactics work in any medium, all the ones that exist, all the ones that have existed, and all the ones we've never even heard of and can't dream of yet, unless we're Steve Jobs or what's his name, Elon Musk or somebody, the ones that are yet to come. Dan's strategies and tactics will work there too. Anyway, let's get right to it. So what is the social media lesson? Well, sorry to say that's a little bit on a negative note, so it's a word of caution. So the word came several days ago. Dan Kennedy had transferred from the hospital into hospice. And click here where Dan online, and you can go there right now to dankennedytribute.com. Dan posted online a message starting out as a paraphrase with something like, I find myself taking the unenviable step of announcing my own death. And typical Dan fashion, he went on to not really talk about himself, but to urge people to carry on in his name and his spirit and his tradition to continue to, as I say, as Dad said, to convert the virgins, to help others out of the frustrating, not working world of doing crappy advertising and marketing like everybody believes it's supposed to be done, and doing it the right way, the Dan Kennedy way, the direct response marketing way, what I call the WOW strategy. And that's what I teach people. And so Dan, of course, in his own Dan inimitable way, still was making an offer and urging people to take action. And then a couple of days later, or the next day, all these days are melting into one. And check that out. I just laughed. I don't think I've smiled or laughed for days. So that's thanks to Dan as well that I'm able to understand life goes on. Dan wouldn't want people to be saddened and paralyzed and unable to carry on like I've practically been for days, of course. But anyway, Dan added to the dankennedytribute.com page, or of course he had someone add to it. Again, Dan does not use the internet himself. He said, add on these 2 cartoons, and he posted a couple of cartoons, which if you go there, dankennedytribute.com, you'll see the 2 cartoons, bringing a little levity into the transitional time of passing on from this earth to wherever Dan or anyone else is going next. And so Dan had to have a little humor in there, because that's who Dan is. Dan will add humor and levity, but also teach you, take you by the collar and shake you, as he did so many times with me, and just shake his head and go, Sipress. And I'm like, he didn't even have to tell me what to do. He just told me, what the hell are you doing? Come on now, pay attention. And I was like, I got it. I'd ask a really dumb question, and he'd just shake his head and go, oh, no. And he'd walk away, and I'd go, all right, I got it. And at least with me, that's how Dad helped me. Genius at not only doing this stuff, teaching this stuff, working with people, coaching, helping them. Anyway, social media lesson. Let's get to it already, will we? Okay. Here's the lesson. It's cautionary tale. Dudes, everybody, pay attention. Everyone knows that social media can be a fantastic way to connect with people. I just talked about it. I've been scrolling through Facebook feed, which I almost never do. Maybe I do it once a week. I've been scrolling through it all the time for days now, looking at all of the tributes and all the memories and all the photos and the postings and the videos and whatever, all from my friends about the great Dan Kennedy, and I've been taking solace in that. And social media can be that great positive connecting force on people, but we all also know social media can absolutely be an absolute cesspool of crap, of people crapping all over each other and saying stuff with their, what do they call it, their social media, balls or whatever you call it. Like, they would never say these things to people in person, but behind their social media accounts, sometimes fake social media accounts, they say all kinds of stupid things and tear people down and destroy them. And the social media can be like that. Well, here's another way social media can hurt people. So Dan posted, dankennedytribute.com, wrote us all a message, announced his own demise, but said, I'm in hospice. And I thought it was pretty clear. Everyone knew Dan's in hospice. And yet, almost right away, all over the internet, Dan has died. Dan has moved on. R.I.P. Some top Dan Kennedy, well-known people with big followings and lots of pull, lots of influence. So for days now, people have been posting, "Oh, so sorry that Dan's," and then people like me will post a comment below and go, "Dan's in hospice. Dan is not passed on," and I, for one, am rooting, hoping, praying for every possible way for a miracle. Who knows? Who says? I mean, Dan's alive, right? So as long as Dan's alive, I'm going to believe Dan's going to continue to be alive. I'm sorry, that's what I'm going to choose to believe. However, people have gone all over the internet. "Oh, Dan died, this, that." Misinformation. It's just spreading like wildfire. Misinformation. See how people are arguing. No, he's dead. No, that tribute letter was written days ago. No, he's passed on. I heard it from so-and-so, or I believe such and such, or this and that. People. One thing that we were told is Dan's wife, Carla, is going to read all the tributes on the internet to Dan in hospice. So post your messages, and this will give some comfort to Dan and Carla and his family in this extremely, do I have to say, difficult time. Well, do you think it makes it any easier when people are posting crap and misinformation and going, "Oh, Dan is dead. No, I know he is." Well, shut up. That's the social media lesson. Shut up. Know what you're talking about. Don't be spreading lies and falsehoods and what do they call it? Fake news and misinformation and trolling the Russian bots or whatever people call it. Stop it. Cut it out. I know you don't want to think twice. Social media doesn't go for a lot of thinking before people post or click share or like or retweet or whatever it all is. Stuff just goes viral quickly all over the place. Come on now. That's the lesson for today. Can you type something into a search engine before you share something and post something? Can you at least look it up? Look it up on several sites, since you can't really even believe anything you see on the internet or just on one site. Look it up. Make a call to somebody. Check it out. Send someone a message. Is this for real? Do you have to be the first one to spread any message willy-nilly, not even giving a crap for your own integrity? I've got plenty of people, clients even, that I follow on social media that, what are you doing? You're killing your own integrity, folks. People are constantly forwarding and posting things from sarcasm websites as if it's true. "See, I knew this would happen." I'm like, dude, did you scroll down to the bottom of that page? That is a sarcasm website. Come on now. You didn't even scroll down to the bottom of the page. You didn't even do a search to look up that website. And it was said right away, this is a satirical website. You just went railing off as if it's real news. And of course, this is famous for happening in the last presidential election here in the U.S. Fake news and BS being spread all over the place, in case you think writing some report and indicting a few unnamed, or who knows if they're real or fake people from Russia or Tasmania or Ukraine or wherever these people are from, is going to stop the thing. You're out of your mind. It's not going to stop. So it's going to happen in every election. It's going to happen all the time. And it's up to us to be discerning, to not be spreading the crap, and to be discerning about what comes across our social media feeds, and not just believe it all and go, "Yeah, see," and start forwarding it and commenting on it or whatever. Take a breath, will you? Think about things. If there's something you're not sure of, maybe you can think of someone you could ask and say, "Is this true? Do you think?" Before you go hurting people. I would have to believe that the people that are spreading these if it were me and I'm in hospice and my beautiful wife Michelle is reading messages to me from people posting on the internet, "Hey, we're rooting for Steve. He's in hospice. We're rooting for a miracle." And then other people going like, "Oh, well, Steve's dead. Too bad. Whatever. Good riddance." Or, "Sorry to see him go," or whatever. That's not helping. It's not positive. So cut it out. And I'm not just talking about Dan Kennedy, of course. It's a lesson from Dan Kennedy and the current Dan Kennedy situation. It's going to apply to everything long after I'm gone, and then he's going to be gone, I hope, long after I am. He's only a few years older than me. I hope he outlives me by a long way. Hope you all do. Hope everyone does. And by the way, that's not because I hope I live a short time. I hope I live a long time, but I hope you all live as long as me and outlive me and all that kind of stuff. But it's not just about someone being in hospice or in particular day. It's about anything that comes across social media. Social media can be, it's a tool, right? Like fire. Fire can warm a home, can cook food for sustenance for people. It can provide light to guide people through a cave or through a forest, or scare away predators. Fire can be really good for a lot of reasons. I'm sure I'm not even thinking of a million of the reasons it can be good. But it can also spread like wildfire and destroy entire towns. Well, that's like social media. It's just a tool, like a knife, like fire, like a gun, like a hammer, like anything else. It's just a tool. It can be used for good. It can be used for bad. Please, please, please think about it. And please don't be someone that helps contribute to when social media is used for bad. Cut that out. Man, that reminds me of my dear mom who passed away 4 years ago. And I was like, Mom, my mom was always forwarding these emails around. And I'm like, Mom, it's just not true. And I would send her, URLs of websites, fact-checking websites. Just, type it into this, type whatever the email says, and then type email hoax. And see if it comes up. Blah, 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 blah. Nigerian prince wants to give you 30 million email hoax. Type that in. Just type it into google.com, for crying out loud, and see what comes up before you forward that to the whole family and everyone you know, and your integrity. Now, I'd say my mom's integrity went out the window, but it's not helped. Your integrity is not helped when you spread false, misinformation, half-truths, untruths, whatever. So please, please, please cut it out. Understand it takes a lifetime to build a reputation and integrity, and you can lose it in a second. So I believe I'm, like everybody else, a little forgiving. I understand that, just because he forwarded or retweeted something that isn't true, you don't lose all your integrity a second, but you keep doing it. And even at all, it doesn't help. Cut it out. That's the lesson. Be careful. What you post, what you forward, what you retweet, what you send around on social media. It can, as they say, go viral. Spread like wildfire. Wildfire, just the name of it, does not sound like that's helping heat a home or cook food or light anything. That sounds like it's destructive, doesn't it? So how about let's be people who do not contribute to the destructive nature of social media. Let's think about what we're posting. Let's look it up. Let's take a deep breath. Let's not have to be the first one immediately to post anything you hear or anything that comes across your feed. Let's be careful. If not for anything else, but selfishly, for our own reputation, for crying out loud. That'll do it for Social Media Saturday. Questions, comments, concerns. I see Brian Wright is here. Great seeing you. Jeff Frager is here. Great seeing you and everybody else that's here live. Anyone watching on the replay, post a question, comment, concern below wherever you're watching this, on my podcast, on YouTube, Facebook, any of my pages that I manage, the groups, all over Twitter, LinkedIn, wherever I'm putting all over the place. Post a question, comment, issue, argue with me, tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm blowing this out of proportion. Say anything you want. It's all good. Share it, like it, hate it, anything you want. As Dan would say, just keep watching. Speaking of which, I'll be back tomorrow on Sunday Fun Day. Usually, I just check in on a Sunday because I made a promise 2.5 years ago that I would record a Facebook Live video every single day. And it's been 2.5 years, shy of 1 month. In 1 month, it'll be 2.5 years. It was March of 2017. And I haven't stopped yet, and that includes Sundays. But on Sunday Fun Day, usually I just say hello. And sometimes I record the video from inside the pool, or hanging out. What I'll be doing tomorrow is reading through all Dan Kennedy newsletters and loving it. But tomorrow I'm also going to share another lesson that I've been thinking about based on the influence in my life, the overpowering tremendous, fantastic, positive influence of the great Dan Kennedy. So hope you'll catch me tomorrow on Sunday Funday. That'll do it for today. Enjoy the rest of your weekend wherever you are. Thanks for watching. Thanks for any comments, likes, shares, anything else. And I'll be back tomorrow on Sunday Funday. Over and out. Bye-bye.